Hello and welcome to Conversations Unlocked, the UniCredit podcast and your gateway to industry insights. I'm Matt Thomas.
And I'm Nikolina Zečić. In this series of Conversations Unlocked, we'll be learning how we unlock a better bank for tomorrow, with insights from experts and conversations with colleagues about the most exciting things happening at UniCredit. In this episode, we will shine the spotlight on the UniCredit Foundation, the philanthropic arm of the group. We'll be speaking to the founder of one of the organizations benefiting from the support of the foundation, where we will discuss the importance of tackling educational inequality across Europe.
And later on, we'll be speaking to Mara Helicum in the Conversations Unlocked Culture Corner, our brand new feature in this series where colleagues ask questions about our group culture and we learn what each of us can do to unlock a better bank for tomorrow. But let's start with a run through of the biggest news stories coming from the bank over the last few weeks.
Our first piece of news is one I'm super excited about. At the end of September, the UniCredit Youth America's Cup concluded with an exciting final in which Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli beat American Magic to first place. The competition was an incredible display of skill and determination, and we are so pleased UniCredit could play a role in supporting these young athletes in this exciting race. We'll be talking more about the America's Cup in a future episode, so make sure you listen out for that.
At the same time, we recently announced our forthcoming digital days, which will take place on the 21st and 22nd of October as we push forward with our digital strategy and ongoing transformation. On the business side, with product innovation and service excellence front of mind, our group investment strategy and group research teams have been merged into one single unit to allow the operating model to unlock its full potential.
And now we move on to our interview on the work of the UniCredit Foundation with our special guest, Rosa Bergman, founder of education charity Hobby Lobby. Matt spoke with Rosa in September. Let's hear their conversation now.
Thank you, Nikolina. So everyone, we're here today with Rosa Bergman, founder of the Hobby Lobby and our first guest on this new series of the podcast. But Rosa works for a very interesting organization called the Hobby Lobby, which is making great strides in making informal education more accessible via dedicated resources, mentorship and care. Welcome, Rosa.
Well, thank you. I'm flattered to be here, actually. And it's nice that I am the first guest. It's an honor.
And to be honest as well, I mean, given it's the start of the school year, it feels like an appropriate time to be chatting as well, right? I mean, yeah, maybe just kick it over to you, Rose, to kick off. Maybe you can start with a little bit about why you started Hobby Lobby and what the journey's been like so far, because I think you were also a teacher as well, right?
Yeah, I'll take you back to 2017 then, when I started Teach for Austria, which is a part of the Teach for All network. I started as a fellow. Means that you are going to a school as a teacher, a Viennese middle school. I came there to work on educational opportunities for children from disadvantaged backgrounds. So I went there just to teach. I taught mathematics and physics and arts and everything. And it was quite a journey. And I got to know a lot of children that were extremely motivated, very kind, very cool. But they were also frustrated because everything they worked for in school was never enough because they worked so hard in school. But other children work very hard in the afternoons as well because they are going to soccer practice, they are learning instruments, they are doing pottery lessons, they're working on their creativity, on social skills. And there are some different studies that show that I think roughly 70% or something you acquire outside of formal educational institutions, but within leisure time, in informal context, from parents, from friends. I met those children who had no way of joining and had not been able to have access to informal education, because in Austria, everything that you do after 12 p.m. is very costly. And that's actually when we started the Hobby Lobby with volunteers that are offering free course programs to the children, from pottery to languages to science, So we are offering different programs now, but the children can access them for free. So that's
amazing. And it's incredibly interesting, I think, as well, because it's so easy to think of education as everything that happens inside the classroom, right? But when I think about growing up and the things I was involved in at school and various sports and trips, I mean, that informal education side is so important for developing soft skills and other important bits and pieces like that. I mean, you mentioned 2017 as when everything kind of kicked off. What's the impact to date been like? How can you kind of track the progress that's been made?
So we're now 5 years old and a bit. So we started the Hobby Lobby back in 2019 in March. And by now we have 13 locations in 3 countries. So we've actually been scaling to Germany and Romania as well. And we have 11 locations within Austria. We held over, I would say, 630 courses, I think. Over 100,000 childcare hours and then within those courses, we offered 8,000 spots to roughly 5,000 children. And then in 2021, another program was born within the organization, I would say, just by accident. One child actually brought it to us because the children grew older, of course, and they wanted to take on also a bit of responsibility and help. So they became very eager to help the volunteers and the instructors. So we created the Youth Leaders Program, where the children that actually have been within the program and have been participating, starting as a co-course instructor. So they are volunteering as well. They also get some workshops and mentoring, and it's a 1-year program for them.
That's really nice. It's so nice they can come back and almost recycle the skills that they've learned, and kind of taking on leadership roles like that and trying to improve outcomes for others. I think that's fantastic. And maybe to sort of zoom out a little bit, maybe we could talk about why educational inequality in Europe is such an issue. Why organizations like yours are so important. Maybe you could comment on that for us.
I think it's an issue because in many European countries, we pass on educational injustice to the next generation. So educational injustice is something that is very much inherited by your parents, by their parents. So we don't seem to tackle educational inequality as fast as we should in order to achieve, for example, that children are not at risk of poverty anymore, because with good and high quality education, we can achieve so much for the future, for their lives, for what they change for their lifetime. So education actually creates a future. And if you fail then, and if you fail those children in the beginning of their lifespan, then you fail them for a long period. And so it needs a lot of people. It needs role models. And it needs you said before, we need a new understanding of what education is. Education is not only what happens in school, university, or kindergarten. Education happens every day, in every place, anywhere, anytime. So it's highly important that we see it as such a crucial point for development and for the future, I would say so.
One thing that I wanted to ask you about is how your work has dovetailed with our own foundation. You know that we have a long, enduring commitment to education and creating a more equitable and inclusive future. Maybe you could comment on the way that we've worked together over the last few years.
It's amazing. It's actually what keeps us going. So these corporations in that size and in that value, also in understanding that it's possible and that organizations like ours should be getting funding, that has made such an impact for our work, and also the long the stability, and because we then have planning security and we then can tackle the big issues, because also we've been to Milan with all the other projects and there has been such a nice exchange of knowledge, and also with like the foundation team, there's so much of support while scaling to Romania, for example. And UniCredit Foundation is for us a very big partner now, and one of the strategic partners that is helping us. What's maybe also a difference to other funding partners is that the issues are so well understood from the foundation, because it's the education is such an important value for that it makes such a difference in talking and understanding and finding the crucial points in where could it fail, what do you need. That's just another kind of support then, and helps a lot, actually.
Yeah. And that's great to hear. I think having that holistic view across all the markets really helps you kind of define the debate, maybe to a certain extent. What about the future? Is there anything you can tell us about more expansion plans, anything exciting around the corner?
Yeah, what we now have in mind is to scale to a younger target group, because Hobby Lobby programs at the moment run from for middle schools, 10 to 16-year-olds, and we are going, since there is such a high demand, we are going for the younger target group as well. We want to tackle primary schools, so that's going to be one big challenge and one big scaling moment. We are very open also to scale to other countries or regions that have the same issues, because like everywhere we go, people tell us about the same issue. The issue is almost European wide, I would say. And so the issue is there. So we are open, and we will hopefully be an important player in tackling this issue.
On the impact side of things as well, Rosa, are there special metrics that you have in place to really look at the impact with the level of detail and granularity? How can you kind of see what's happening across the markets with these initiatives?
Like, impact measurement is quite important to our organization, and that's also something that I like about the partnership with UniCredit so much, because like how not only what we do is important, but what we achieve with it is so important to the foundation. Just a while ago with the University of Vienna, they did a social return on investment analysis and somehow made some external impact measurement for our organization, and found that every euro invested in the program is worth 21 euros and 27 cents for the society. So that's a very nice and high social return on investment.
Fantastic. Well, we're all very excited to see how things develop. Rosa, thank you so much for joining us today. That was an incredibly interesting conversation. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here.
Wow, what a fascinating conversation.
Yes, honestly, it was such a pleasure to have that conversation with Rosa. The work that both her and the organisation has been doing over the last 7 years, I think, is incredible. And it was so exciting, I think, to hear as well that they've got so many new initiatives around the corner and that the organisation continues to flourish in that way. I think one of the most interesting takeaways from the conversation as well was just the central role that the foundation has been playing in all this, not only from a funding perspective, but also in terms of helping to shape the issues and understand the dialogue that's happening around education and providing resource in different countries. So it was a great conversation. Yeah.
Wonderful. And looking forward to hearing more. And now it's time to focus on culture with our Culture Corner. Today, we will be joined by Mara Helicum, who will be answering a question about culture from one of our UniCredit colleagues.
Thank you, Madam Nicolina. Hello, I am Mara Helicum, Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Manager at Hypo Vereinsbank, and welcome to the Conversations Unlocked Culture Corner. Here in the Culture Corner, we answer your questions about UniCredit's people, culture, and how our colleagues contribute to building the Bank for Europe's future. In this episode, our question comes from Filippo Pilli, EFX trader in Italy and member of the employee network Unicorns. Let's hear Filippo's question.
Hi Mara, can you tell us about how UniCredit's social impact projects in Germany are having an impact on the bank's culture?
Thank you, Filippo. We have some amazing projects here at HVB, all of which are having huge impact on our values. For example, HVB is a partner of TechFirst Deutschland, which is doing incredible work to improve the quality of education the children can access. They are helping to make our schools and the next generation ready for the challenges of tomorrow, which will be critical if Europe is to grow and succeed in the way we all want it to. This speaks of our value integrity. Integrity is about not just doing the right thing, but doing it in the right way. With a project like Teach First, we are really impacting society and making a difference that goes beyond our core offer of providing banking services. We have a huge culture of volunteering in the group and here at HVB. We encourage colleagues to participate in skills-based volunteering, which allows them to share their own competencies to drive the progress of our local communities for education, mentoring, and coaching. This kind of volunteering is evidence of our value caring in action. Especially when we are all so busy, it can be easy not to find the right time to go the extra mile and give time to volunteer. But our value of caring reminds us how important it is to be there for those less fortunate than you or who could benefit from your experience. I know from my role in DE&I that diversity of thought and opinion makes all the difference and brings so much positivity to teams. So projects like this are also an opportunity to learn from people with different experiences than you. Ownership is really important for our team, and we want to give people the space to focus on the things they personally care about and make a difference in this area. Taking ownership is a great way to find purpose in your own work and feel positive about the impact you are making. The UniCredit University provides employees with access to digital and in-person resources to support their own development in the areas most relevant to them. We encourage employees to take a look at the Plus learning platform to find out more about opportunities to take ownership and upskill. I hope what you've heard about today has inspired you to think about how your actions can impact other people and to find ways to create positive change, whether in your team or your wider community. And I hope that answered your question, Filippo. Thank you for joining me in the Culture Corner for this episode. And back to you, Matt and Nicolina.
Thank you, Mara. Thank you, Filippo. Very interesting. And that's all for today. Thank you so much for listening in. We have more episodes due to come out in this series over the coming weeks. So stay tuned for more updates.
And do remember the forthcoming digital days that we have coming up on the 21st and 22nd of October. I know that the agenda is under construction and soon we will have some very interesting delights to share. Please do join us again next time for more must-hear insights and conversations about life at UniCredit on another
Conversations Unlocked.